Thank you, everyone. It's good to be back. And I guess we've been talking about DAB for quite some time in positive terms, to the extent that I probably need to get a job from Jackie. But we're here as Xperi, and for those of you who don't know, Xperi is an entertainment technology company with a deep and very wide history when it comes to radio. Gereon, you want to say what you do?
Yeah, my name is Gereon Joachim. I'm the Vice President for Automotive Sales and Strategy, and I'm also sitting on the WorldDAB steering board. Important for the presentation, just as a reminder, DTS AutoStage is a hybrid radio solution. We are currently in 16 million cars on the road where we are enhancing the radio experience. Important to understand, we are not an app that you find in the App Store. Everything that we do, we are fully embedded in the automotive radio. That's very important. And the reason why we are actually in this session is that we're sharing a lot of insights back to the radio stations about FM and DAB listening in particular. And George will take you through a few examples about the lessons you could actually learn from the data that we're providing.
Thanks, Gereon. And part of my role is to bring broadcasters worldwide onto DTS AutoStage. And I can see where the confusion may come in when it comes to apps, because we do develop apps. And we do have a metadata management solution called Rapid. But we're here to talk about the data, real data from real cars that we see in Germany. But before that, we want to bring it back to some of the greatest hits when it comes to Ireland and their trial. Right now in an expansion phase. We just want to bring that up because we're here to talk about Germany at Rose's request, since this was such a popular session. When we had it in Riga, we talked about it. But just as a reminder, the key findings were undisputed. Basically, in DTS AutoStage equipped vehicles in Ireland, we could see without a doubt that the uptake of listenership when it comes to DAB channels, both on a simulcast, but also when it comes to DAB-only brands, was impressive. And that number continues to go up as their trial expands. But we're here to talk about Germany, and it's pretty exciting to move from a trial market to a fully mature country, right, when it comes to DAB+. So the data that we have, it's quite impressive, and I don't think it comes as any surprise, right? Based on so I'm just going to reveal the first headline here. 90% of in-car listening in DAB AutoStage, in DTS AutoStage equipped vehicles is on DAB. So, Gereon, what do you think about this?
Well, I think it's worth a round of applause, actually.
For Germany, yes.
That's fantastic, right? This is basically proving the research that was done by WorldDAB with the bio research that was presented this morning. This number is actually underlying what we are seeing in the vehicles that are equipped with DTS AutoStage. We also have to say, in all fairness, we are in the newer generations of vehicles that are also equipped with DAB, to that matter, but I think the numbers are speaking for itself. We still see that some listening is taking place on FM, right, because the coverage is not perfect with DAB, so you may defer to the FM signal. I particularly like the display from the Mini. It's something unique because it's round, but I also want to point out that we have the public value indicators here, which was a big subject of discussion, I think, in the session before. So that's being also in the market. But now back to George to share more information.
I will share a little bit more. So this is exciting. I think when we move to the rankings of the stations, when we looked at, we like to rank, and I don't know if you saw our listener announcements, we're releasing across markets, market rankings for radio stations. So we decided to do this internal exercise where we looked at Germany to see how the stations rank. And guess what? The number 2 most popular station has 0 FM listeners in Germany. It's 80s. I think they're a very popular station. It's second only to SWR3 in our data. Of course, I think to me this shows that the investment in DAB is paying off, right, Gereon? I think it's without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have formats that are DAB only and you have a huge listenership, it's proving content is king, right? And through DAB is making it possible. So that is another big success story of DAB, by all means.
Right. And speaking of charts, so when we look at the top 20 most popular stations on DTS AutoStage in Germany, we see that 8 of them are DAB-only stations. Now, some of them may not have started as such, some have actually launched as DAB-only, but here are the ones that are listed here in the top 20, so DAB-only stations. And I think maybe the heat map that we put up probably has something to do with it. When it comes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should stay at the heat map. We are providing a lot of insights in terms of rankings, right? But I think it's worth for you to speak a few moments about the broadcaster portal, because, as I said, we are sharing a lot of information back to the broadcasters, and we're also providing heat maps to the individual stations where they can actually see where the listening is taking place in the car, are listening to a DAB side or to an FM side, and they can draw conclusions with it. And if we were talking about the infrastructure planning before, this is really car data, so you can really, supplement your investigations with the data that we're providing.
Right, and again, this information that we presented on the left, it's an aggregate and we have access to, but on the right you see a real heat map that anybody who signs up for DTS AutoStage, which is free, they could see those heat maps and they can get some really interesting insights into listenership, and most of all, like, you can see where your listeners are geographically. Now, when we looked at the data, we also decided to look at, okay, how about the stations who broadcast both on DAB and FM? And I think, if you're from Germany, you probably recognize some of the brands here. And some of them are obviously public broadcasters who, by mandate, I think, have to service everybody. But you see that it's pretty categorical. The dominance of DAB when it comes to simulcast is quite obvious. Did you want to add anything to this?
No, I think there's nothing to add. The numbers are speaking for itself. It's just pure joy.
But do you think, why don't we see 100%? I think that's my question.
Yeah, I went into this before. As I said, DAB in Germany, or DAB Plus, is great in Germany, the experience that you have in general. We talked about the road coverage, right? The road coverage is not perfect. There's still roads that are not 100% covered with DAB, and that's the reason why you see that the listening to the station is to the DAB signals is not by 100%, but it's close to it. It's all ranging in the 90s and above. So that's speaking for the infrastructure or the rollout that we have in Germany. And I think over time, this is certainly going to go up, but I think overall, I think the numbers are pretty impressive compared to other countries.
Right, and the one thing that I would add here is the fact that, for example, public broadcasters have shared with us in the past that it is in their mandate to reach the widest, amount of people. So they have to make sure that they service every region, no matter how populated or less populated it is, so it's an interesting angle there. I've also heard from some other broadcasters or other countries that they see the network, the infrastructure as a national security issue, so that's an interesting discussion topic to have, but I think this speaks volume to the adoption of DAB and of course the path forward when it comes to listenership in the car. Next slide. There you go. So what I like about this, and if you're from Germany, you probably recognize the brand, right? You have a brand that came onto the scene. I know they're a big media group, but they burst into the radio arena with DAB only, and it's about the absolute radio stations. And I like this slide for two reasons. One is, of course, it shows you that those are all the brands that they have, of course, and they've pushed that, and you've seen, I think 3 out of the 8 that we listed previously are absolute stations. But when you look to the right, I think it kind of addresses the user experience aspect of DAB, right? So when you have all stations listed alphabetically, it's very easy for a brand like Absolute to just put all of them together. So now if you're listening to one, you probably get tempted to listen to the other, right? So without the car being necessarily very smart or the interface being AI-driven, you do the best with what you have, and this is a very good example, right? Do you listen to Absolute?
I don't. I have a different radio station, honestly, that I'm currently listening to. But no, maybe it's good to point also at this stage to refer to the UX user guidelines that we're developing at WorldDAB for a good user radio experience overall. So I think this is a good example through the alphabetical order how a good radio experience should be represented in modern cars today.
Right, but not to, I do want to just give not a counterexample, but just kind of the exception maybe that confirms the rule of DAB dominating. It's an interesting case because if you're from Germany, you probably know this brand. Metropole FM is Germany's leading Turkish language radio station. If you didn't know this, Germany has a very rich experience with Turkish diaspora and immigrants. And they have this broadcaster who broadcasts nationwide on various FM frequencies and DAB, right? Gereon, you may want to speak to that.
Yeah, we were looking into the numbers actually, and we were wondering why is only 45% on DAB and the 54 or 55% on FM. And then we figured out, in some regions like in Stuttgart, they don't have a DAB transmission, they only have FM. And obviously, while they have the vehicles that are equipped with a DAB plus capabilities of receiver, there is no broadcast, right? So that's something where actually the station could review the data and make decisions whether it's worth, joining a different multiplex, often need to work on the FM coverage, whatever their strategy is, right? We are not making, we're not giving any recommendations. We're just presenting the data and say, that's the fact, right? You can now analyze the facts and draw your own conclusions. And I think that's important for every radio station, that they have the right tool set to make the right decisions, and that's what we wanted to present today.
Yes, and then absolutely, and then of course, maybe we capture them in a transition phase. And if you look at their brand name, right, Metropole FM, it has FM in the name, so that's interesting. But with that, we do want to extend an invitation for anyone to sign up if they want to. Again, you can get access to data. Anybody can sign up, and we think it's a powerful tool, and we're proud to present that to everybody. Thank you.